But the reason I came, and I think there is an appetite, I hope that there's an appetite to, especially my female colleague across the way, that we have to investigate the Paul Bernardo transfer. That's why we're here, the rights of victims. And so if we could have...
Mr. Chair?
I'm still on my point of order. So if we could have...
What's the point? This sounds like debate.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
That the committee hold a 3-hour meeting immediately after the committee's study of Bill C-20 on the right of crime victims and the security reclassification and transfer of offenders within federal corrections, and the transfer of Paul Bernardo from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison. And that the committee invite the Minister of Public Safety, Commissioner of Correctional Service Canada Ann Kelly, Deputy Minister Sean Tupper, the Corrections Investigator, and the Federal Victims Ombudsperson, representatives of the victims' families, particularly Tim Danson, and officials of justice and public safety to appear. I think we've hit on a good compromise here, Mr. Chair. And so I think we've, it's always been the conservative position that we need to have some sort of representation from victims' perspective or victims' representatives' perspective in order to see this from all angles so that we can ensure that this event, that we can at least recommend some changes so that hopefully an event like this doesn't happen again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. The clerk has indicated that he is sent out in both official languages. Everybody has that in writing. Now that
Point of order.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. O'Connell.
Sir, I'd just like to get clarification that this is actually an order and not just a notice of motion, because where we left off, we adjourned the meeting. So this is a motion, not a sub-amendment. So I'd like to get clarification if this is actually an order, given that we adjourned, and now this would be the first time it's introduced, which would require notice because it wasn't part before we adjourned the meeting. And this meeting was called for C-20. That's what the agenda was put out for.
It seems like the member is questioning whether it was in order to resume consideration of debate on the motion, which I would have some separate points to make. But once debate has resumed on the motion, debate is underway on the motion, and it is, of course, in order for somebody to move an amendment, a sub-amendment to the motion. There's no requirement to provide notice to amend an item that is on the table being debated.
O'Connell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we now proceed to clause by clause on C-20. It's a dilatory motion. There's no debate.
Recorded vote? Mr. Clerk?
Yes. So, Ms. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. MacDonald?
Yes.
Monsieur Chiffquet?
Oui.
Mr. Gay?
In favor?
Mr. Biddle?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
No.
Ms. Ferrari?
No.
Mr. Motz?
No.
Madame Michaud? Someone's missing.
En faveur.
4.
So, defeated 7 in favor, 3 against.
I think I can find a compromise. I think actually everybody in the room, based on what I've witnessed, wants the exact same thing. So I think everybody wants to move forward immediately with C-20, right? Like, let's get that done. We have these lovely people who have been extremely patient. You can come and teach my children how to be that patient. And they want to get on with it. But the reason I came, and I think there is an appetite, I hope that there's an appetite to, especially my female colleague across the way, that we have to investigate the Paul Bernardo transfer. That's why we're here, the rights of victims. And so if we could have...
Mr. Chair?
I'm still on my point of order. So if we could have...
What's the point? This sounds like debate.
So
I'm sure my good colleagues will get to her point
Yeah,
quickly.
of course. So I'm saying 100%, let's move forward with C20, get that done. But we cannot defend Paul Bernardo in this House of Commons. So I'm putting forward that we would have a unanimous consent, move forward with C20 right now, and that we remove what was put forward, that the minister not come, that we can have a unanimous consent on the sub-amendment that was put on the floor originally by my colleague, Mr. Lloyd, to ensure that the rights of victims are met. We'll remove the I believe, between my colleagues from the Bloc and the NDP and the Liberals, they didn't want the Minister of Public Safety.
Point of order,
So
Mr.
we
Chair.
can just ensure that the rights of victims are here and we're not protecting child killer, rapist Paul Bernardo.
Ms. O'Connell?
I don't know what that was, Mr. Chair. Was there a motion somewhere in there? And if so, could she repeat the actual text of her motion so that we can determine if it's in order or not?
Just at the end there, when you did say the motion you were looking for, Ms. Ferrari?
So I can send to the committee, so the revised with the Bernardo, revised would be that the committee hold a 3-hour meeting with the following witnesses: the Commissioner of Correctional Service Canada, Ann Kelly, Deputy Minister Sean Tupper, the Federal Victims Ombudsman, representatives of the victims' families to discuss the transfer of Paul Bernardo from maximum security facility to a medium security facility. We pass that with unanimous consent and go right to C20 and get on with this.
Point of order. Mr. Chair, it's not, the motion isn't in order. We already voted on it. So the member opposite's motion would need to be, this could be a notice of motion, but it's not in order since we are currently on C20.
It's just 1 second on all these points of order. The clerk has informed me that if there is unanimous consent on that, we could go forward with that, so.
Clarification, Mr. Chair. So I am asking this committee for unanimous consent.
Point of
that
order, we already
bring-
voted.
So you want to protect Paul
Point of
Bernardo,
order,
just for the
Mr.
record.
Chair.
Thank
Point
you,
of
Ms.
order,
Ferrari.
Mr. Chair.
I will do my best. That is your right and prerogative too, Ms. O'Connell. Do you have a point of order? Point of order, Ms. Ferrari?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not 100% sure on this, but Mr. Biddle had asked or addressed the committee if we'd heard from victims' families. And I do have the letters here from the victims' families, and I'm happy to read them into the record. It's why I'm here. I'm not going to stop saying that. So if I could read it into the record, because he
Point
did
of
ask.
order.
He did ask the committee for that.
Ms. O'Connell?
It's debate.
I know.
And I asked
I
to
don't
table this
think-
to committee.
Point of order.
I think that would be out of order as we're talking about C20 right now, Ms. Ferrari.
You should request UC for it.
Well, she can. She
I-
didn't.
I would just, he asked, Mr. Biddle asked, so I'm
Mr.
saying.
Janice has the floor right now, so should we continue on with debate? Did you want to be, a point of order from Mr. Lloyd?
I'm going to request unanimous consent. The witnesses have gone, so maybe discussion on C20 might be pointless at this point, and so I think we could use this time. So I'm asking for unanimous consent that we discuss a potentially revised motion that we can all accept in the remaining 40 minutes or 30 minutes of this meeting, so that we can move on to C20.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No
Just
unanimous
looking-
consent.